It's alright, we can edit that bit out. Okay, hi Kirsten, thank you very much for coming to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. I know that you can be quite busy.
Yep.
So thank you for meeting me in this beautiful little spot.
Yeah, pleasure. Lovely spot.
Oh, awesome. Alright, so what I just wanted to talk to you today is just to get you to chat to me a little bit about your role at Volcana, and as well as how communication plays a part within your role.
Okay, so I'm the General Manager at Volcana, which is a great job. I feel very privileged to have that job. Yeah. And my role involves lots of different things. So it involves running the organisation from a kind of constitutional point of view. So we're an incorporated organisation with members, and it's my responsibility to make sure that we're doing everything as we should by the Constitution and as we should by the laws of Queensland and Australia, and running effectively in that way.
Okay.
It's also my job to manage all the money, which when it's going well is really good, and when it's not, it's really tough.
Yeah.
And so making sure that all of our procedures around that are really good. And then I guess it's that overall general perspective of the organisation. So making sure that we're making the right connections with the right partners and the right organisations, supporting our artistic director in creating funding applications and developing new projects, and looking at how to grow and build and sustain the organisation for the future.
Oh, wonderful. So it sounds like to me that you've got a lot going on with a lot of different people and groups. So how do you make sure that you're communicating with these people and making sure you guys are all on the right track and on the same page?
Yeah, sure. So we're all part-time as well, which makes that task even more challenging, because there can be some weeks where we're all super busy and we maybe have 5 minutes together in the office and that's it. So communication is super important to us. From a personal point of view, I try and make sure that I'm checking my emails, even though I only work 2 days a week, but checking them much more regularly, just so people get a response from me and they can move on with their tasks internally. And we also try and have a team meeting, usually in a nice cafe somewhere in New Farm, for a couple of hours a week, and we actually catch up. We get on really well as mates as well, so we catch up and share things about our personal lives as well as our work, so it helps build that rapport, and I think that's super important as part of a small team, and a team who are really pushed, and we ask a lot of our staff, so it's important for me that we do that. In terms of communicating externally to the organisation, I also do a fair bit of our web updating and that kind of stuff. So we also have that role to talk about what we do on a regular basis. And that's something that when we're pushed for time can be really hard to think, well, we've already done that project, do we really need to write a web page about it? But that's really important, so that when new people come and look at what we're doing, and often people look at that online these days, they can see that we're a really active organisation, and we're not just running circus workshops, but we're also working with communities and developing our community portfolio and that kind of stuff.
Okay, brilliant. So I guess what I noticed before was you were saying that making sure that you have a strong relationship with your colleagues is really important, and you kind of build that through communication.
Yeah.
And keeping in touch.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
And I think one of the things that I've realised throughout my career is that personal sharing of some of my own challenges is really important. So I'm a big fan of being very public, public within our team about making mistakes and admitting and owning those mistakes.
Okay.
I had a manager recently who did that with me, and it made it much easier for me to say, hey, I screwed up, but this is how I'm going to fix it. And it's that kind of culture that I think is really important, and that communication for people to be able to say, you know what, because mistakes are great, they mean that you learn. Like, they should be embraced way more. I think organisational culture is often that it's not okay to make a mistake. It's something that you tell people off when they make mistakes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I kind of use the did anyone die ometer, and if nobody dies, then we go, okay, well, let's fix it up.
It's all right.
Yeah, and a lot of the time nobody dies. Most of the time nobody dies. So there's always a solution to these things, and I guess that's the way that that's the culture that I try and bring to the organisation.
Yeah, I think I've been in situations before where you've made a mistake and you're like, oh, I'm terrified to say what I've done, and then like once you kind of realise it's okay, that's awesome that you have that kind of openness and kind of move forward as well. So it's brilliant. I guess that's another thing about communication.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Awesome. So, what is there? Has there ever been a time where something has gone really, really badly with your communication, and you've kind of learnt from that? And so, is that how you became to be so open about making mistakes?
Maybe you should ask my colleagues that question, not me. I don't know. I'm trying to think back through my career. I guess I used to work as a freelancer in the UK, and one of the things that I realised is projects either went off track when we didn't manage expectations. So if someone was contracting me to do a piece of work, whether it be facilitation of an arts project or directing a project or whatever it might be, if I didn't manage their expectations of me and I wasn't clear about what they were getting from me, that's often when the project went off track. Or it was about bad communication. So it was about that I hadn't been clear about something, or they hadn't been clear of me, and I hadn't asked the questions. I just made assumptions.
Okay.
So I learnt that pretty early on in my working life, and I think that's something that I try and bring into a lot of my work now. And I think I would say I'm fairly reflective, so I will always look at what can I do differently and how can I bring about a change. I think my biggest learn over recent times has probably been to be much more honest and upfront about where I'm at with stuff, and to be able to, because I think there is a culture often in workplaces where people they don't feel like they can say if they messed up, and people don't feel like they can be honest about I'm finding this difficult, or that's seen as a weakness. But I try and be very honest and upfront. It's certainly in my workload, and go, actually I'm finding this really difficult, or if I feel like something's going off track with a colleague, to be able to say, look, I don't feel like we have a great rapport going on at the moment, can we do something differently about this? What do you want from me? What can I expect from you? And certainly at Vulcana we all have very discrete roles, so we work relatively independently, and therefore it's really important, I think, for us to be clear about what we expect of one another so that we can manage those competing demands sometimes. So yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like there's lots of relationship building and open communication and reflection, looking back and seeing what works well. So that's what makes a good team environment and organisation like Vulcana to run smoothly.
Yeah, I think so. I'm intrigued if you ask the same question to my colleagues what they would say of me, but that's certainly what I try and do.
I'm sure they'd probably say the same thing. All right, well, I'd just like to thank you again for meeting with me, and it was lovely to chat to you.
Thank you.
And hopefully you get good marks. I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.